So the good brother David Benavidez says, he announced his hit list: cruiserweight, Gilberto Ramirez, Cinco de Mayo. They kind of been going back and forth, and I think Ramirez said like Benavidez wasn't no real Mexican or something like that. He said they trying to build a fight. I don't give a hell about none of that, because once you get in America, damn near everybody mixed with something. You know what I'm saying? But who else you got? He said didn't he want to fight Bivol, then Beterbiev, and to the naked eye, some people might be like that's a killer list and he doing his thing or whatever. But some people talking about the Jayo Tapa thing. I seen him fight a little bit, so I don't really have a hard opinion on him. But what I will say is I ain't never seen nobody in a rush to get the cruiserweight. I ain't never seen nobody say, I got to get the cruiserweight. I ain't never seen nobody rush to get the cruiserweight. I just ain't never seen it. Like, I really don't people usually jump over cruiserweight, just go to cruiserweight, get a belt, and get up out of there. So, him, like I said, I don't, this ain't my community. This ain't my sector of boxing to care about Ramirez and Benavidez. If I ain't doing nothing, I don't mind watching it. Do I care about the fight? No. Give a fuck about that fight. Like, what does it mean? Ramirez, he lost me. He lost me in kind of those Jesse Hart fights. You know what I'm saying? I used to like him a lot, but he just seemed a little bit too robotic. He looked like he was just overrated. You know what I'm saying? So I think then he lost to somebody else. I can't remember who it was, but I mean, that was it for me. David Benavidez beating Ramirez, I just think that's really a supplement for the Canelo fight. And I'm not knocking him for taking the fight. I don't blame him. You want to go up there, fight him, and come back down. I don't care. I don't care if he don't fight Jayo Tapa. I don't care. I mean, not interested, but I think the elephant in the room is him not fighting, him waiting to fight Beterbiev and trying to age Beterbiev out. That's all he doing is aging Beterbiev out. And like I said, Bivol aged Beterbiev out. Nobody talks about it. This is why fighters kind of, age people out, and they do this. They beat around the bush and they stretch it out because hopefully he can lose, or hopefully he shows some weaknesses. You know what I'm saying? Or, if I do lose to him, then, I got as much money as I could. Okay. And then officially, they haven't even announced the Ramirez fight. They officially haven't even announced it yet. So I don't really understand, like, dragging their feet. I don't understand the process of dragging feet for this fight. What's the process of dragging your feet? Why they take us so long, to announce some of these fights? But Lord knows. But, really, I'm not mad at it. But, him kind of waiting Beterbiev out till we get older. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it might be in Beterbiev's, I think it might be better for Beterbiev to go up to cruiserweight and beat him and be a 2-division champion. So Ramirez, 34 years old. It was the Dmitry Bivol fight that he lost, I believe it was. It was the Bivol fight. I don't even remember that fight. But, barely beat Jesse Hart too. If Jesse Hart had to take a punch, I just think Jesse Hart can't take a punch from his legs. His legs so damn skinny. But I think it might be in his best interest to jump up and fight Beterbiev at cruiserweight. I mean, jump up and fight Ramirez. I mean, if Benavidez, he was gonna be Ramirez. Ramirez is robotic. I can't believe he only got one loss. Ramirez is very robotic. But I think it's in his best interest for Beterbiev to jump up and beat him for the cruiserweight title. Beterbiev was talking about jumping up to heavyweight at one point, So I think it's in his best interest to jump up, being an older fighter. I would say gain some weight. He can gain some weight because he'd be a little bit more comfortable at cruiserweight. That way the weight cut won't cut him as bad as it does at 75. And I think he'd be a little bit more dangerous, given the age. That's why you see heavyweights don't age out as much as age out so early, you know, because they don't have to worry about cutting weight. You know, Wilder, you have your guys that like Wilder and Ali who've been through abuse. But if they don't take that much abuse, extreme abuse, you know, that make a lot of sense. But yeah, he waiting Artur Beterbiev out, and Beterbiev to counter that should just, you know, take the fight at cruiserweight. And Beterbiev just turned 41, so if he plan on fighting Bivol, and then rumor is Bivol and after Bivol IBF title fight, Bivol and Beterbiev can fight probably sometime in the fall. So by the time, you know, Benavidez probably complete the process, if Beterbiev and Bivol fight, shit, Beterbiev gonna be 42 years old. But what the fighters know, when people historically look back at it, they don't talk about all the little caveats and things that, oh, he was 42 or he was over the hill. They just look at the name. So honestly, for him, he still won't be a superstar. Benavidez still won't be a superstar. You know, beating Bivol, he ain't a star in the United States. Nobody know who the fuck he is. Beating Beterbiev, nobody know who the fuck he is. Beating Gilberto Ramirez, nobody really know who the fuck he is. In the Mexican community, yeah. And beating Jairo Tapa, they don't do shit for you. Unfortunately, the Canelo fight would have been huge, but sometimes it's just not the Canelo fight. You know, when you think about it, the process of getting there is really having really good fights that's syndicated, and, you know, his fights being hidden on Showtime, hidden behind pay-per-view paywalls. You know what I'm saying? Canelo built his fan base. You know, Oscar De La Hoya cosign was huge, but I think the biggest cosign was him fighting on free TV in Mexico and building his name, you know, with accessibility. You know, you got to be accessible. And a lot of these guys, they just don't have the accessibility to be on TV. Because everybody want to price themselves out. So Benavidez ain't going to be no superstar. I think the superstar in boxing is dead. I think the superstars in boxing is dead because everything going behind the paywall. You can't build a superstar without another superstar, or you can't build them behind the paywall. So the whole thing, that shit dead. You know, these dudes ain't getting gold medals. You know what I'm saying? They not fighting on NBC no more, CBS no more, Fox no more. Everybody can't see them. You know what I'm saying? So nobody feels nobody feel like I grew up with like Sugar Ray. Most people feel like they seen Sugar Ray grow. Ali was a gold medalist. You know what I'm saying? Foreman was a gold medalist. De La Hoya was a gold medalist. People felt like, okay, I want to see how his career panned out. Vander Holyfield, Mildred Taylor. You know, that hurt Aaron Pryor back in the day. It hurt Roy Jones to a certain extent. So, you know, at the end of the day, my thing is you kind of need that syndication. You know, you need to be, a lot of these guys, they haven't figured a way, an alternative route to the traditional way of having a gold medal, the traditional way of building a name on regular TV where everybody can see you. They haven't found a way outside of that. And also the other alternative way is the passing of the powers, Oscar to Floyd. But to even get to that point, you have to have someone to be a household name. So they haven't figured that formula out for this generation yet. And the passing of the torch is done. That's a wrap. You know, Floyd, Pacquiao, that shit is done. Canelo, he won't pass the torch to David Benavidez. Floyd wouldn't pass the torch to another brother. You know, Pacquiao tried, but I guess the Floyd fight kind of, Marquez knockout. So the passing of the torch is done. So, you know, they need to market themselves and then they don't have no personality. You know, some people was in the comments, somebody was in the comments, it's not wrestling. Always the point of what I'm saying always goes over slow-minded people head. The point of the wrestling comment was the entertainment factor that they brought outside the ring. There was an entertainment factor. There was personality. There were monologues. Don't boxers have opportunities for entertainment outside of the ring? Absolutely. When they do press conferences, you know, when they do these face-offs, when they see each other at other fights. Remember Colbert and Gary Russell ran into each other? That ain't no different than these wrestlers doing their monologues or they doing their little whatever they call them. So, like I said, a lot of these dudes are slow. Well, wrestling is written. What you think? What you think Ali was doing? Think Ali didn't practice float like a butterfly, sting like a bee? Think Ali didn't think about it, map out in his head, pull up to Sonny Liston house, popping that shit? You know, you think Ali didn't work on his one-liners? You think Floyd didn't work on his one-liners? Think Floyd didn't come up to 24/7 ready to destroy Shane Mosley the way he did? It's all the same thing, bruh. You think when Broner lost to Madonna and came back on Showtime, I think the next week or the next show, and said, you know, people felt like I lost that Floyd lost. You think he ain't practiced to think about that? Some of this shit can be improv, but it's all the same thing. Trevor Berbick getting drop kicked off a car. Larry Holmes drop kicking Trevor Berbick off a car. Riddick Bowe putting a 2-piece in the biscuit on Buddy at the press conference. Muhammad Ali pulling up to Sonny Liston house. All the tactics Muhammad Ali pulled on George Foreman at the Rumble and Jumble when he was about to leave. Then tagging how Floyd Mayweather antagonized Oscar De La Hoya even before 24/7 started at the press conference. So once again, you trying to be a wise ass in the comment section, and I'll buy any of these dudes who got an issue. Every time I invite them, they don't want to come on, or they come on and get schooled within the first 5 minutes. But I hit the link in the description, join the Patreon. It's the first link that said, find me everywhere. People keep asking, say, find me everywhere. Hit the link. You can find me everywhere. Peace.